Tonight, renaming Dundas Street.
I think that they should change it. I think that it's racist.
The push to rename Dundas Street passes a major hurdle after the city's executive committee votes in favor of the name change. What's next? Plus,
it's very unsettling. Any of us could have been walking with our kids.
Residents of a North York neighborhood are pushing for better safety measures on their roads after a speeding vehicle flips over and takes out a light post. And
the trip between Toronto and La Ville de Quebec could be reduced by up to 90 minutes.
The federal government unveils plans to build a new high-frequency rail system between Toronto and Quebec City. We have details of the massive project that could cut travel times by 25%. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Dundas Street is one step closer to being renamed. Today, the city's executive committee voted in favor of the motion to rename the street. The street was named after Henry Dundas, a Scottish politician who became known as the Great Tyrant for delaying the abolition of slavery in the British Empire. Chris Glover has more.
I think that they should change it. I think that it's racist.
I think it's part of a broader project that Toronto should be engaged in to recognize the harms that these things can do.
So people do realize that they are a part of this city rather than feeling like their voices aren't heard.
From people along Dundas Street to the mayor himself.
That we get it and that we have studied what happened in history and that we're not proud of it.
Today's debate to rename Dundas seemed like a foregone conclusion. Last year's reckoning with racial injustice across North America sparked an outcry to tear down British politician Henry Dundas's name across Toronto.
In my view, it is irrefutable that Dundas contributed to the delay in the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade.
A British historian telling the mayor's executive committee today that delay led to some 600,000 Africans being enslaved.
If it hadn't been for Dundas, those people would have been living free in Africa.
Canada's former Governor-General Adrienne Clarkson among the most outraged.
We are past the days of pathetic colonial bootlicking.
They have presented such a terribly biased and one-sided view of Henry Dundas.
Former CBC broadcaster and current Crown prosecutor Jennifer Dundas, who is also a distant relative of Henry's, says her research shows the gradual end of slavery Dundas pushed for was what made it successful.
If people know the facts, they're not going to feel any better about a decision of this nature. They're going to feel that they were manipulated.
That compromise is required.
A couple of the citizens who spoke today agreed, but the vast majority were against Dundas, including historian and writer John Ralston Saul.
Being clever about how you do evil doesn't reduce the level of the evil. And when I'm on the street, I just keep thinking about this man of great evil. And why are we stuck with his name?
City staff pegged the renaming at some $6 million, and a list is being compiled of other named streets, including some also linked to the slave trade, like Yonge Street.
You can't be, changing names and doing these kinds of things on a continuous basis every day. You have to be careful in how you go about doing that, and careful, frankly, going forward about how we name things.
So Yonge not really part of the debate today. Today was really focused on Dundas, and in the end, the mayor's executive committee voted unanimously to approve that recommendation to remove Dundas from Toronto public spaces. Now that will go to the full council next week, and if it's approved there, then we would start to see full consultation on what the new name should be. And the mayor saying today that they would be consulting with Indigenous and Black diverse communities here in Toronto, especially along the strip of Dundas, and we would see a new list of names presented as early as next year, and then the year after that, the new name could be in place. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Residents in North York's Stanley Green neighborhood say speeding is a big problem on their roads, and they're urging the city to implement better safety measures. This comes after a car flipped over on a quiet residential street last week. As Dahlia Ashley reports, the city says it's working to improve road safety in the community, but it's a complicated process.
It's a quiet neighborhood by Downsview Park Boulevard in North York. The maximum speed limit is 40 kilometers an hour.
There is quite a number of speeders.
About a week ago, this vehicle flipped over. Police believe the driver lost control on a turn and hit a lamp pole, knocking it to the ground. The driver was treated in hospital and charged with careless driving. Fortunately, no one else was hurt. Jenya Ferris has been living in the area for a year.
It's very unsettling, the fact that such a thing can occur here.
She says the incident could have been avoided.
It's not okay that there isn't a basic stop sign in this intersection to have that vehicle pause before making the turn.
Brian Patterson is with the Ontario Safety League. He says people are driving at speeds of up to 150 kilometers an hour in the neighborhood.
One of the things we learned with COVID is congestion kept speeds down in a lot of areas that are now less congested or almost virtually wide open. And people are choosing to take advantage of it and placing the entire community at risk.
She says the community has petitioned the city to do more to make the roads safer. Community members took a walk through the community with their city councillor last fall to assess road safety.
We walked through that intersection, which has an entrance into the park, and we asked for stop signs and a crosswalk for pedestrians. We were told that it's a great point. Nothing has happened since.
These roads are under federal jurisdictions, and the city councillor for the area, James Pasternak, agrees that road safety is a concern and says the municipality is working on ways to assume the roads so safety measures can be implemented.
Municipalities can put in their own stop signs and crosswalks, and we follow the rules under the Highway Traffic Act. But the problem is the street is federal. So we need special permissions to get that done. Not only to implement it now, but we got to make sure it stays in place when the street is transferred to the city. So these are legal issues that we're working through.
He hopes to see the roads transferred to the city as early as next year. Dahlia Ashery, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health made a call for arms today. He's asking everyone to roll up their sleeves and get vaccinated, especially the younger population.
Just as a reminder, it's around 9 weeks until the return of school, and for some colleges and universities and on-campus activities. When factoring in the interval required for the 2 doses and time to build immunity from the vaccine, the clock is ticking.
Dr. Moore said those who are unvaccinated made up more than 83% of COVID-19 cases in the province between mid-May and mid-June, and added that if Ontario wants to sustain its progress, more shots need to be given throughout the summer and into the fall. This comes as the province reports 164 new cases today, the lowest since early September. 9 more deaths were also reported. Canada's Transport Minister has unveiled plans to build a new high-frequency rail system between Toronto and Quebec City. Now, the service will be dedicated to moving people only, no cargo, thereby cutting travel times by as much as 25%. Greg Ross has more.
Rail travel in Canada was hitting record numbers before the pandemic, according to Transport Minister Omar Al-Gabra. And he says the expectation is ridership will get there again soon.
As vaccination rates increase and as pandemic-related restrictions begin to lift, we expect travelers to return to the rails in similar numbers.
He says the new plan announced today in partnership with Via Rail will connect Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal and Quebec City using many new dedicated rail lines shown above in red. They say this will allow for more departure times and improve on-time reliability up to 95%.
The trip between Toronto and La Ville de Quebec could be reduced by up to 90 minutes.
The plan is to use some existing rail infrastructure as well as build a number of new tracks. That was welcome news to those who use the current service.
I go to Quebec City 2 or 3 times a year. I love the idea. I mean, for me, it would make a huge difference. The trip to Quebec City is long, so I'm all in favor.
But few details were provided today in terms of what service will look like. For example, how often will trains run on a daily basis?
It will be really important for whatever this new service is to run really often, like every hour through the day. No big gaps, no, oh dear, I missed the train and I might as well just go home again. Because
transportation advocate Steve Monroe says it's also important to know how many stops trains will make along the way, because that will have a huge impact on travel times.
There will be a political pressure to drop more stops along this line. And that can be very dangerous because you turn what should be a faster trip just by virtue of having its own right of way into a milk run.
The transportation minister says they are in the process of conducting impact assessments in communities that will be affected by the new service. The project will cost anywhere from $6 to $12 billion, and he says he hopes to have it completed by 2030. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Soccer fans were out in full force on College Street tonight celebrating after Italy defeated Spain in the semifinals of the Euro Cup. It was a close and tense game tied at 1 apiece. The game went to penalty kicks, Italy scoring 4 and Spain just 2. Italy will face either England or Denmark in the finals on Sunday. Those teams play in the other semifinal tomorrow. Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, another hot and steamy one today.
Yeah, that's right. So we put another one in there, but this will be it for a little while anyway, as we're going to see some improvement with the temperatures for sure, and a bit with that humidity as well as the new air mass moves in. But check it out. If we just do a recap for the highs from today, 32 degrees in Toronto. Kingston made it to 30, Ottawa as well, and 33. Got to give it to you, Windsor there with the warm spot. And of course, then we had humid X values in some cases. Southwestern Ontario, they were poking into the 40s. They were more upper 30s around the GTA. So as that front comes through tonight, we've been seeing the heavier rain. This keeps happening, a repeat again, moving through cottage country north of the city. But we are going to see a few, or at least hear a rumble of thunder overnight tonight with a few storms passing through. Again, heavier stuff stays to the north, but tomorrow morning could have the odd heavier downpour just to kind of start the day off, and then it really seems to wind down along the north shore of Lake Ontario, and we see the cloud cover hanging in there, maybe a few sunny breaks. It doesn't wind down so much for southwestern Ontario, so you stick with some of these wet conditions, and then it'll be wet all around as we go into Thursday. Tonight, 20 degrees. Hey, 10-degree departure at Kelda, the high tomorrow, 22.
Thanks, Colette. A 20-year-old woman is facing charges after leaving a puppy in a hot car for hours. York Regional Police responded to Vaughan Mills Mall last Wednesday after receiving a call regarding a distressed dog in a car. When officers arrived, they found a white Audi sedan with the doors locked and a small dog inside. The dog was lethargic, panting heavily, and had no water. The officers rescued the dog using a baton to break the sunroof. Officers reviewed the mall security footage and determined the dog had been left in the car for nearly 3 hours in 29-degree weather. A woman has been charged under the Provincial Animal Welfare Services Act. Police are reminding pet owners to never leave your pets unattended in a vehicle. A Kitchener family says they were left stranded by Hyundai in the heat on the side of the 401 when their new vehicle broke down. They said when their 2020 Hyundai Venue suddenly lost power, they called roadside assistance, but were told they had to find their own way home. Talia Ricci has more.
The car wouldn't go more than 5-10 kilometers an hour.
It was a scary situation on the 401, but the family managed to pull over and contact Hyundai Canada's roadside assistance. They assumed their extended warranty would have them covered.
They'll send a tow truck, but they won't send a taxi or pay for a loaner.
So it was about 30 degrees outside. We had our dog and our baby in the car with us. They just didn't seem to care at all.
The Cunninghams say they waited 3 hours for a tow truck and had to call family to pick them up. They were 2.5 hours away from home. The family said Hyundai explained they couldn't connect them with a rental because it was after business hours.
Like, we broke down on a Sunday and they said, sorry, we can't get you a car because it's Sunday. Like, Sundays happen every week.
Both say they've since contacted customer service multiple times but weren't provided with immediate solutions. And they were especially frustrated because they say they've taken the car into Hyundai for this problem once before and were told it was fixed. They ended up borrowing a vehicle from a family member for the week.
We felt we were completely abandoned by the company in that moment where we actually needed their help.
In a statement to CBC News, Hyundai Canada apologized for the vehicle's malfunction, said they're sympathetic that the family had this experience, and said their customers' safety is a top priority. Adding, when it comes to roadside assistance, in view of adhering to physical distancing protocol, customers are responsible for arranging their own transportation if their vehicle is being towed. The company also said the vehicle was repaired, covered under warranty, and underwent numerous successful quality tests. The family picked it up at the Whitby dealership, but the experience left them uneasy.
I don't know if we can trust this vehicle anymore.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
It's such
such a fragmented experience to get involved in activism and change making. If you want to start a petition, you have to go to this website. If you want to do a donation drive, you have to go here.
So these two Toronto sisters went about changing that, creating a digital platform where young activists can learn, connect with others, and take action all in one spot. I meet up with them to learn more about Revolutionnaire coming up. Two Toronto sisters have created a digital platform to help young activists make the change they want to see in the world. Nia and Justice Faith Betty knew there were many young people who wanted to make an impact. They just didn't know how to start. So they launched Revolutionnaire last month, an online space that gives them the tools they need while connecting them with each other. I met up with the sisters to learn more about it and how it all got started.
I grew up as a black ballerina, never having access to dancewear that matched my skin tone.
Nia Faith Betty started Revolutionnaire as a dance blog 2 years ago, inspired by her own experience as a black ballerina.
The dance blog was really focused on promoting activism in ballet, sharing stories of diverse dancers and their experiences. We quickly expanded to having apparel and accessories for everyone in a variety of shades of skin tones.
I was watching Nia as her older sister and just totally in awe of what she was creating. And it was in 2020 where I woke up in the middle of the night with this idea whereby what if more young people like Nia, who had a dream of making the world a better place, or even just their communities a better place, had access to the community, the tools, the resources and information that they need to really scale their impact. A large part of this was also inspired by Nia and I's experiences being involved in activism and community development from a young age, and more recently last summer when we really saw young people using their voices like never before to make their views heard about the issues that concerned us.
So the sisters got to work turning Revolutionnaire into an online platform where people can learn, connect with others, and take action all in one spot.
What we've experienced and what so many people who we've spoken to have experienced is that it's such a fragmented experience to get involved in activism and change making. If you want to start a petition, you have to go to this website. If you want to do a donation drive, you have to go here, a fundraiser, a different website, and people just really don't know where to start.
We've been working with our team to build out our resource library, both in terms of the how-tos, like how do you plan a protest, how do you plan a phone banking session, how do you plan a community meeting.
The social network is focused on 5 causes to start: criminal justice reform, environmentalism, gun reform, housing and food security, and racial equity. Why are these 5 so important to you?
Time and time again, as we spoke to so many young people in the lead up to launch, these were the topics that constantly came to a focus, especially, coming out of COVID-19. I think we've really seen how the pandemic has very much so worsened the realities that we've seen as it relates to racial inequity, as well as things such as housing and food security. So we break down these complicated topics into very accessible articles and do it with, the focus of how can young people get involved in these issues today. And then in addition to that, young people or people of any age that are interested in making a difference can log on and create their own action items, be it a petition, a fundraiser, a donation drive, a letter campaign to their member of parliament.
We really hope to incubate a generation of change makers and people who are not only motivated to make a difference, but are actually making those dreams that they have for the world a reality and taking action, being really bold about it, and feel empowered to know that they can actually change the world.
And it's free to join. Just head to revolutionnaire.co. A heat warning remains in place for the city with thunderstorms developing overnight. Currently, it's 27 degrees, feeling more like 33. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, cooler temperatures are on the way.
Yeah, everything kind of changing up here, Kelda, with the atmosphere and what we'll be experiencing. So as for the heat warning, may linger to the overnight just because the overnight temperature is still on the higher side, but really that all changes tomorrow as we're hardly going to change from that overnight low. So we'll be breaking out of the heat warning. A couple of cooler days in store, Wednesday, Thursday. And then we'll begin to very gently turn back around again with warming up. Rain and thunderstorms in the short term. So we have some, overnight tonight, heavier to the north of us. And then tomorrow some risk. But really we get into some periods too as we go into Thursday. That's what I mean by short term. And then we kind of break out of it towards the end of the week, and we'll get more sunshine that you can kind of count on as we go into Friday and especially into the weekend. So the outlook here, some of the storms now, a lot of them kind of don't even make their way or sort of dry up before coming through the city. Not the case, as I've been saying, around Barrie, through Midland, through these regions, even up towards Parry Sound, you're getting hit once again. And we're seeing some into southwestern Ontario, although a little spottier in nature, but it pops up again tomorrow afternoon through Windsor, Chatham, Kent, Leamington, through these regions that you'll see some thunderstorms and a few pockets where we get into some heavier rain. Then into Thursday, see how it becomes more widespread. Not that you need more of it here through the Bruce Peninsula in that region, but it becomes more widespread along the north shore of Lake Ontario and into eastern Ontario as well. And then we see things improving. Still a slim chance on Friday of an isolated shower, but it's a much slimmer chance. Tonight for southwestern Ontario, so these temperatures are still on the higher side for overnight lows. But these are not your daytime highs. In many cases, they're kind of dropping off, although still humidity there in southwestern Ontario, but dropping off about 10 degrees. That's what we'll see with the daytime high for Toronto for tomorrow with that drop, because from tonight, we'll kind of rise up to maybe 22 or so, and then actually begin falling again into the afternoon hours as that new air mass kind of settles in, okay? Thursday's high, just 20 degrees. In some cases, it may be around the Golden Horseshoe, a little bit of a struggle to even get there, so you may not even break out of the teens. But there you are Friday, that slim chance that you could see some wet weather. Have the umbrella around. I wouldn't worry too much about it at this point. It's not looking too bad. And Saturday, kind of a mix of sun and clouds, some of this higher level clouds. So again, be a nice day. And Sunday, temperature climbing, at least 25, if not warmer, Kelda.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colette.
Weather is brought to you by Train. To cool and clean the air in your home, it's hard to stop a train. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Finally tonight, it's early in the summer, but it might be hard to top this sandcastle in northwest Denmark. This giant of a structure is officially confirmed as the tallest sandcastle in the world. It's more than 21 meters high. That's almost 70 feet. Some more numbers to ponder. It took more than 4 tons of sand to put this together, with some clay mixed in to help it stick better. It's designed with triangle shapes to prevent collapse, and about 30 artists worked on it. Pretty impressive. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and we are preempted at 11 because of hockey. Have a great night, everyone.